Alright, here is the green-white tokens deck. This deck has been around for a while now, ever since the last Pro Tour. It is very similar to the list that I played in Grand Prix Costa Rica. The deck's just been winning consistently. I think it's pretty fair to call green-white tokens the best deck in Standard at this point, just looking at results. It's also a hard deck to attack. You would think, oh, it's just playing tokens. Tokens are easy to kill, but there's also planeswalkers, there's big creatures, and the deck can go wide, it can be aggressive, it can play a long game. It's just got so many different angles of attack. And a lot of the cards are known entities. Like, you know that you're going to see Oath of Nyssa as a 4-of in green-white tokens. This card is great because it can find you any of your threats, being planeswalkers or creatures, but it also allows you to play less lands because you can just simply find a land with an Oath of Nyssa. So it makes the deck feel a lot smoother. Looking at the mana base, we've got more green sources than white sources. The reason for that is primarily Oath of Nyssa and also the 2-mana creatures. We want green early more than white, and we want double white later in the game, but Oath of Nyssa also helps us cast our planeswalkers. It does pretty much everything in this deck. This list, I'm playing 2 Westfell Abbeys, the same as from the Grand Prix. Some play 3. I'd rather just have consistent mana, consistent colors, than have more Westfell Abbeys, and you don't really want to be drawing multiple Westfells anyways. So 2 is the number I've been happy with, and pretty sure I'm going to stick with it. The 4 Canopy Vista and 4 Fortified Village are pretty self-explanatory. This list is a 25 land list. Now we are seeing some go up to 26 lands, and I think I'm still happy with 25, but you know, I tend to go less lands rather than more a lot of the time, just because I really don't like to get flooded, but you can get mana screwed either way. I think that the versions that play 26 lands and try to go a bit bigger after Sideboard, I understand that a bit more, but Oath of Nyssa allows you to find your land, so it's almost like you're playing 26 or 27 lands because of the 4 Oaths. But let's get into some of the other card choices here. There's 2 copies of Declaration in Stone. Declaration is quite good in the mirror, and that's why I added a second one to the main deck. It's also just one of the best removal spells in Standard. There are 4 copies of Jamoka's Command. Jamoka's Command is probably the most played card in Standard right now. It can just do so many things. It makes enchantments that would be good against you, like Virulent Plague, not that good against you. The +1/+1 in Fight is the most often used mode. But if your opponent happens to be playing a red deck, preventing damage is also pretty nice. So the card does everything. It also works well with Hangerback Walker, being able to put in an additional counter on it and then fight and then make Thopters. So yeah, there's just 4 copies in the main deck. That's a given. 4 Sylvan Advocate, that's a given. We've got a few other 2-drops here, a couple of Hangerback Walkers. You see a split here between main deck and Sideboard. Lambhope Pacifist is a pretty new addition to green-white tokens. It wasn't in the original list, but it's so good on the play and against these Coco decks and other creature decks that you can just steal games by going turn 2 Pacifist, turn 3 Jamoka's Command, and at that point you're just so far ahead that sometimes it just snowballs from there. So there's 2 Pacifists, and then we've got these Den Protectors. They're not exactly 2-drops because you don't really want to be playing them on turn 2. So we'll move them over to the 3-drop slot. They can even be 5-drops a lot of the time. So they're a very versatile creature. I like the number 2. It gives you a bit more reach in any sort of control or mirror match type of scenario. They're not good against the human decks for the most part, but other than that, been really happy with Den Protectors. And, okay, so now we have our Planeswalker package here. All green-white token decks are going to be playing these cards. They are inevitably better on the play than on the draw. This deck just wants to be curving out every game. It wants to be on the play. And so on the draw, sometimes I will shave a Planeswalker or two, but these are your best threats, your most difficult to deal with threats. 4 Nyssa, Voice of Zendikar, and then 4 Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. Being able to produce tokens and then also pump them. Making emblems with Gideon, going Gideon emblem into Gideon emblem, or what have you. It just makes all your other cards in the decks so much more effective. So, yeah, I mean, once these cards sit in play for a couple turns, this deck just has a ton of fun with the opponent, and it can be very frustrating to play against a Planeswalker that sits in play and just generates token after token after token. And that's what this deck does. So we've also got our 5-drops here. We've got Archangel Avacyn. Just the best 5-mana creature in Standard. It's got flash, it's got flying, it does it all. You can reasonably flip it. You do have to worry about killing your own creatures with it, but comboing with Hangerback Walker, main phasing Archangel, and then playing a Hangerback Walker, letting the Hangerback Walker die, and then flipping the Archangel is a nice play. So, yeah, this card is just very good. People are still not playing around it for some reason, and it's great against manlands when your opponent thinks it's free to animate their Lumbering Falls and attack you. And then you're like, oh, I still have Avacyn here, so it's pretty nice. I have 1 Tragic Arrogance in my list. I've seen it in a few other lists, and I've seen no reason to cut it. It's still very powerful. It's still a great sideboard card, in my opinion. There will be games where your opponent just has multiple Planeswalkers in play, and cutting them down to 1 Planeswalker is really nice. So we've got basically our big mana spells. 1 Secure. Still a nice combo with Westveil, even though we have only 2 Westveils. Or sometimes you want to main phase the Secure and then minus a Nyssa, for example, just to make your tokens bigger. And then this is kind of a new card. I'm trying it out. It's become more popular in green-white tokens. Although there are no actual red sources, there are 4 Oath of Nissas, which allow you to cast Chandra. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't play more than the single Chandra Flamecaller here. But it's nice to have another sweeper. So let's talk about the sideboard a little bit. Personally, I just like having the 2-drop that I want in the matchup I want it in. And so that's why I can just switch out Pacifist and Hangerback. So we've got 2 of each of both of those. Evo Leap comes in against Control. I think 1 is the right number. I had 2 at the Grand Prix, but you don't really want to ever draw 2 Evo Leaps. So that's my reasoning for 1. Another Den Protector against the slower decks. We've got a copy of Clipwings here. Clipwings is actually, it's obviously quite good against any sort of dragon deck with Thunderbreak or Ojutai or what have you, but I'll bring it in the mirror as an answer to Avacyn or a flipped Westveil Abbey, and it's fine there as well. And there's 1 Silk Wrap. Silk Wrap is good against the humans decks or against rights decks. 1 Hallowed Moonlight comes in against Coco decks. I actually don't really normally bring in the Moonlight in the mirror unless I think that my opponent is on the Secure the Waste plan, because some versions play Secure, other versions don't. So if you've already seen Secure, that's more of a reason to bring in the 1 Hallowed Moonlight. Here's a Declaration in Stone. This is just another card for other creature mirror match type of scenarios or against humans or whatever. Being able to sweep away multiple of the same token on your opponent's side of the board is very powerful. There's a bunch of removal in the board because sometimes this deck just plays against decks where you just need to kill everything and then just drop a Planeswalker. So it's also 2 copies of Stasis Snare. This is one of my favorite answers to Kalidas or big creatures coming out of control decks. Dragon Lord Salumgar, it's a nice answer to. And there's not really a whole lot of ways to punish you for playing Stasis Snare against those types of decks. And it also doesn't, it means your opponent isn't getting a clue like they would with a Declaration in Stone, which can become relevant depending on if the game goes long or not. So, pretty happy with the Stasis Snare. Also a nice answer to Reality Smasher. So yeah, it's actually good against control decks. And then we've got our big mana package here. Tragic, I can tell you, it's good. I like it. And there's also 1 Planner Outburst. That's what I'm trying out as well. I've seen it in a few different lists now. I'm kind of thinking it's better to have 1 Tragic and 1 Planner than 2 Tragics, but it's pretty close. Tragic is really good. I definitely think you want to have access to 2 of them, and then if you think that Rights or something of that nature is bigger, you might just want the 3rd Tragic, but Planner Outbursts can also be quite nice, especially when you get to 8 mana and can awaken it. That's the true power of the card. But Tragic allows you to keep in a creature in play like an Advocate or Pacifist or whatever, so that is pretty matchup dependent. And then we've got our 1 Linvala. Really happy with Linvala in any sort of creature-on-creature base scenario. There will be a reasonable amount of time when your opponent has more creatures than you, even though you are the token deck. A lot of times you're just chumping with tokens, and you have Planeswalkers in play, and this card can just win the game by itself. It's picking up a lot of play in other lists too. It should be a 1 of, or even a 2 of, depending on how big you want to go after board, but right now I'm playing 1, and I'm very happy with it. This is the list I would recommend for this weekend. There's still a few slots that are interchangeable in the deck, but yeah, it's just super powerful, and I can honestly say that if you don't know what to play in Standard, this is just the default choice. This is what you should be playing, so yeah.